So before we start this session, third and last session of 9th of December today, sir, please. And let's welcome Professor Sabi Akhtar from Aligarh Muslim University for this session. Sir, is that okay? And he will be covering ductile design. Thank you, sir.
मैम आगे बैठ गए थोड़ा सा सही पिक नहीं मैम आगे बैठिए देखो सर आप भी आगे बैठिए मैं यहाँ से देखता रहूँगा वहाँ से आना पड़ता है इससे आना पड़ता है आगे ना सर उधर बैठ जाओ बीच की तरफ जरूर ये आप लोग पटेल सर बैठ जाइए ये तो बैठ भाई आप ही बैठ जाओ थोड़े से आगे आ जाइए आप लोग थोड़ा जगह खाली हो तो पीछे के बजाय ज़्यादा जोर से नहीं मुझे बोलना पड़ेगा मुझे क्लास में ऐसे ही मैं पीछे बैठे हुए कॉन्टैक्ट लगा आसान है Should I start now? Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to interact with you. The topic before you, I shall be discussing what actually ductile design is in the first part and how can we achieve it in the second part of it. But before we start, at least we should know each other. I am Sabi Akhtar, professor in structural engineering, Aligarh Muslim University. Can I have interaction with you, the name and what degree you have right now? Masters. Civil engineering. I'm a B.Tech from civil engineering. B.Tech in civil engineering. And B.Tech in engineering. मैम आपसे बात होगी सर आई विल कंप्लीट माय M.Tech in class. फोटो खींच लेता था नितिन कुमार नहीं बस होगी सीट कहाँ से किया अच्छा सब इधर के भी आ जाए यहाँ से इधर से खींच लो वो घर के बच जाएगा अब डुअल काम कर रहे हैं मालूम होना चाहिए सेशन भी अटेंड कर रहे हैं साथ में चलिए गुड ओके so let us start the topic. So you will have these 5 divisions in my talk. Starting from the background, then the criteria used for design, then what is the importance of ductility in achieving the target, and factors affecting ductility, and lastly the ductile design and ductility. So starting with the background, with this image for you, I want to communicate a particular structural phenomenon which is induced by earthquake. Whenever there is earthquake, there is some sort of shaking. Right? Feel it. Most of us have feeling during the lifetime, sometime back. Then if there is some tremor or some shaking where we are sitting, what comes to our mind? What is the first reaction what we get when we feel any tremor? There is no need of any engineering. Any common man can feel it when not feel. What is his first reaction?
We all get frightened.
Yes, we all get frightened and
Want to move out of the building.
Yes, this is the first reaction. That leaving everything behind, whatever we have, we want to save ourselves. This is the very first target comes to mind. Anyone, whether it is engineer or not. Common sense. So, the question of earthquake design, or even a design in civil engineering, revolves around this feeling that save yourself, save mankind, save life. So this is the paramount target of any structural design, that we want to save the habitat, we want to save the persons who are residing inside, we want to save the life of those who will be residing over there in the structure which will come up after the design. So, with that target in mind, we can go through with some of the photographs. What the earthquake can do with their structures. This building, you can see, has been torn apart like this. Maybe the reason of that soft stories to one side. The bottom portion is not clear, so we cannot conclude directly what happened. But ultimately, some sort of, loss of the structural rigidity here has tore it apart like this. Similarly, this building, everything intact, but it has been simply overturned because of the foundation has not been perhaps designed properly. Some sort of miscalculation over there, and due to that, everything looks nice, but the building has been overturned. Similarly, in the next slide, I can show you the example of soft story. The lower story, the parking area, usually we create in day-to-day housing complexes. And that is usually like inverted pendulum. We have a larger mass over there, and connecting to the foundation, we have very smaller rigidity over there at the bottom portion. And that is why during vibrations, it behaves like this. It has been overturned. Another example, building has been sunk inside. What is it? This is liquefaction phenomenon. So all these things can happen with our structure, whether it is tearing apart, whether it is overturning, whether it is sinking inside. So basically our target is to save human life, and to save human lives means that we have to look upon these kind of structural behavior, what the earthquake can create, what earthquake can produce with our destruction. And to achieve it, definitely we have to set certain targets. So the very first question whenever we talk about earthquake resistant design are these three questions. That what is going to be the purpose of the construction? What is going to be the function of that structure? That is the very first question you have to decide. Whether you are going to construct a dam, whether you are going to construct a nuclear power station, whether you are going to construct a commercial building or a residential building or an ordinary building, is the very first question you have to decide. And accordingly, the next step will be followed. The answer of the second query is hidden in the first question, function of the building. If the function is nuclear power station or a dam, any damage to those structures can bring about mass destruction. And the very first question set was that human life, right? So human life at stake is in mass. If there is some damage to dam, if there is some damage to nuclear power station, right? Or any other structure which is of that nature. So in that case, human life is at stake. And number will be huge. So definitely, we cannot compromise in those kind of structures. That we want a foolproof structure of that nature which can bring about mass destruction. And so the reliability of that structure will be of paramount importance, highest reliability. Most reliable structure you want. But definitely, if you want that kind of reliability from your structure, that it should be foolproof in any kind of earthquake, whatever may be its magnitude, then definitely the third one is involved, cost of the construction. Cost will be huge. So the question is that if you want that kind of a structure whose reliability should be 100% in any kind of earthquake, cost will be very high. And if you are in a position to pay it, definitely you will go for it. And in that kind of a structure, we have to provide whatever may be the cost of this construction. In nuclear power station, we cannot compromise. In dams, we cannot compromise. Whatever may be the cost. But other type of structure, like commercial building, like residential building, like some other buildings, if we go for that kind of reliability, definitely cost will be very high. So we start compromising depending on the type of construction. And definitely there should be some basis of compromise, and that is here. Very traditionally, the design consideration involves that leaving behind dams and nuclear power stations where we are not going to have compromise. In day-to-day construction, there are three guiding principles on the basis of which we can have certain compromise. The very first one is that if the earthquake is minor in nature, mild earthquake, right, the structure should remain intact. Even the non-structural component should remain intact. Projected portion should remain intact. No damage to the structure. This is the first guiding principle. That in mild earthquake, our structure will not sustain any damage, whether it is a structural component or not. In moderate earthquake, we will permit certain damage to our structure. There may be certain cracks here and there, mostly localized to non-structural components. Projections may fail, plaster may fail, but the load-bearing main structure, like columns, like beams, they will remain intact. So what is again the aim? That human life should be saved. If there is some portion of, say, plaster falls, definitely there will be some damage, some injury, but life will not be at stake. Right? And if there is some catastrophic earthquake of highest possible magnitude, then what we expect from our structure? We expect that the structure should not collapse completely. Definitely, the non-structural component will fail, like partition walls, like any balcony projected outside, portico. Some structural component like columns, like beams may fail. But complete collapse will not be there. So what we are achieving again? We are again saving the human life. If a structure is not collapsing completely, most of the people residing inside can be saved. There may be some